So, if you guys remember a recent episode I had with Jennifer Blanchard, the author of the book called Fuck the How, where it talks a lot about really you need to commit to what is it that you actually want. And then, second, once you decide what you want, whether it's with yourself, with your physical health, with your emotional self, maybe it's a relationship or your job, whatever it is, you decide what is it that you want. Then the next thing is why. And when you can decide what it is you want and why you want it, fuck the how. It doesn't matter. The how will come when you can make a defined choice of what you want and know why you want that. So today we're going to dive in a little bit about what that looks like with regards to health. As you also have heard about my story, for me, I had a major health issue with endometriosis that forced me into a place that I didn't have the courage or realization to take ownership of at the time, but that health concern pushed me to make that decision to make a change in my health. That was my why. My what was I am uncomfortable. I am in severe pain. My why was I don't want to live like this. So it was like, what am I doing? I've got to find a way to live a free life, a safe, a comfortable, peaceful life. And why is I'm not going to go and do these surgeries anymore. I'm not going to live my life on these drugs with more side effects and just make this worse. So I made that choice. It didn't matter how, I was going to find a way. So today I am welcoming my brother as a guest, and we're going to dig into a little bit more of what this looks like with regards to his health journey and how this can help you guys, because I feel like this is incredibly important with regards to your health. And maybe you found this episode today and you've got an issue going on with your job or finding your purpose or relationship, whatever it is, money. I do believe that your health is your primary focus, honestly, because everything is a reflection upon how you treat yourself and back to your own heart. And you are in this physical shell, and I believe that your physical health is primary, that's going to be reflective within other aspects of your life. So that's why I think this is a very important episode. So this is my brother James. Welcome to the show today. Thank you.
Wow, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So today I just want us to dive into your health journey, and maybe let's start with, where were you this time 10 years ago? Your overall health. We'll start with your physical, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Well, 10 years, let's back up just a little bit because I think
Okay.
I spent my 30s, 10 years ago I was 40, so I just turned 50 last year. So
Oh my
that was
God,
kind
it
of
seems so
a
crazy.
big milestone, I guess. But
Okay, so let's go back to the 30s.
so if you go back to the 30s, I think I lived mostly like a lot of parents, dads that just sort of coast through, raising kids. They give up a lot of time doing physical activity. They don't eat as well because the kids want chicken nuggets or whatever, so you're just sort of going along and doing a lot of those same things.
Eating the food off of their plate that they don't
Yeah, like,
finish.
well, yeah, if they don't finish that, I've got to eat
Yeah.
that. But it was so slow and unnoticeable that I was gradually like getting closer. I was definitely getting to the pre-diabetes stage, but traditional doctors, they look at you and they're treating a lot of sick, obese people. So if you're not grossly obese and have like severe high blood sugar levels, they look at you in that context and they say, "Oh, you're fine. You're healthy." And even though I was going to the doctor every 2 or 3 years for, whatever, a cold or something, and they weigh you when you go in. Like, I would sort of gradually see that going up every few years, but I really didn't. I just bought a little bit bigger clothes, so I felt fine or whatever, I guess. But where it really hit me when I turned 40 was that I have boys that are 13 years apart. I have a 23-year-old now and a 10-year-old. So if you think about that, when at that stage in my life, I went to summer camp with the 13-year-old at the same time that the newborn, the last son was born when I was 40. That was kind of a major, I guess, inflection point or awakening for me, because when I took the older boys to summer camp, they had a swim test that I failed because I didn't have the physical endurance to swim 200 meters or whatever we had to do. I just physically gave out. So I had a little bit of shame there that I had to like swim in the kiddie side of the lake. I couldn't go out in the deep side without a life jacket because
Oh.
look, here's dad that can't swim, but obviously I could swim. I just didn't have the physical endurance to do that. So I thought that made me look at the newborn son thinking that I'm 40 years old. Like, I've done all these great fun things with the older boys in their teenage years. Like, I want to be here for another 40 or 50 years at least to see the new son grow up, have kids, get married, and all that kind of stuff. So that sort of became a lot of my why to sort of change my diet. Well, at that point, I just thought, well, I just need to move and do more exercise. I really didn't look at the diet thing all that much, honestly. I just thought, well, I just need to go exercise. And so from 40 for the next like 4 or 5 years, like I just did Orange Theory and that kind of thing. And I dropped, like within the first 2 years, I dropped like 20 pounds. So I was up to like 230, which, for me, I thought that was definitely more than I should be weighing, I guess. But so I lost maybe 20 pounds the first year, but then I just sort of leveled out around 210 pounds and just stayed there for several years. And fortunately, right before COVID, I had a friend that put out a challenge, like a health coach friend that said, hey, just try a week without any added sugar, dairy, like all these things that
So
can
that
be.
first 20 pounds in the Orange Theory days was about how much time went by?
I would say like 2 or 3 years.
In 2 or 3
And then I
years.
just
But you didn't
coasted.
change your diet at all. You
Not
just were
really. I
working
mean,
out.
I think when you start exercising, you sort of change your diet a little bit naturally, just because your mindset is, well, I just, if I went to Orange Theory or something and I burned 800 calories. I don't necessarily buy into the whole calorie counting thing now, but at the time, I would see the thing on the screen that said I burned 800 calories, and then if you immediately went to lunch afterward and you saw something that was 1,200 calories, that would be like, oh, okay, maybe I don't want to just totally destroy that hour that I spent at Orange Theory on this. Maybe I'll choose something. So I may have picked things a little bit healthier, but not like consciously. And of course, too, when you work
Not
and
with intention.
when you do work in sales or something where you're having to meet with clients or donors or whatever, like I've done, like you eat out a lot. That's
Oh,
really not
yeah.
easy.
Travel and business lunches, business dinners.
Exactly.
You're expected to have this 3-course meal plus wine. There's a bottle of wine and
Yeah.
there's cocktails, and then all of a sudden there's 2,000 calories just in that dinner.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess one of the silver linings of COVID in a way, and maybe this is just my personality, because I have to admit that my personality is a little bit different than some people, in the sense of some of my motivation is I want to be different than other people. I want to be the opposite. I'm a contrarian type person. So part of your midlife crisis, or midlife awakening for me was probably, in retrospect, well, a lot of people gain a lot of weight in middle age, and a lot of people do this and that. I want to do the opposite of other people. And that was a lot of my motivation during COVID too, honestly, is when people were almost like, well, I'm going to gain the COVID 20
Yeah.
pounds or whatever. I was like, fuck that. I'm going to like lose 20 pounds. So right before, luckily, right before COVID, I had already started like the journey of eating a lot more protein, a lot fewer carbs. I would say more kind of a paleo-ish type of eating. And I guess I got,
You started to say, and I interrupted you, that somebody introduced you to something.
Yeah, a friend who's a health coach
Okay.
basically said, try cutting out added sugar.
Okay.
And there were like 5 or 6 things, but it was basically like a keto week. Like
Just
they
one week.
didn't even say it was keto, but they said it was very low carb, but it was also, cutting out a few things that a lot of people might have a inflammatory reaction to.
Okay.
And that week I found out like how much added sugar I really had in my diet, because I started breaking out like in hives. Like I was really like detoxing and
Really
having I had like a, like when you come off of drugs, you know what I'm saying? Like if you cold turkey stop drinking, you're going to have this withdrawal symptoms. So I was having withdrawal to added sugar. And so a lot of that may have been like I was eating like bars, for instance, maybe instead of eating a lunch, going out to lunch after doing Orange Theory, I might have like some sort of granola bar type of thing that said it had protein in it, but it also had 15 grams of sugar.
Oh my God, those things are terrible. Yeah.
So the so-called health food. So that's why I'm thinking
that's a whole nother episode of the scams in the health food.
Right. Yeah. So when I cut that out, I had this really, that sort of told me, oh, I probably shouldn't be eating this. And then at the end of that week, I felt a lot better actually. And I got through that initial sort of response. I wouldn't necessarily recommend anybody do that now, in the sense of like, if you're going to change your diet, it's better to gradually do it, not do it overnight. Like a lot of people will say, well, I tried the carnivore diet and I had all these problems. Well, most of those people completely cut out carbs in one day. They went cold turkey or in a short amount of time. It really depends on what you're doing. But if you change your diet overnight, no matter what you're doing, your body's going to respond, because our body is so good at adapting to whatever we're doing. Like people are eating lots of junk that they're actually doing a lot better eating a lot of processed garbage than I would do if I started eating it tomorrow, because my body is sort of adapted to not eating it. So if I have one thing or something that's really bad, my body's saying, what the fuck did you just do to me?
Right.
There are a lot of people out there that are they're so inflamed, they're in pain as a gradual accumulation of all these toxins and stuff they've been putting into their body. They don't fully realize that how well they could feel if they got off of all that. But they also just don't equate those pains to what they're eating. In a lot of cases, they think, well, I'm 50 years old, so that's what happens when you're 50 years old. Your knees hurt, your joints hurt, your back aches.
And insert, they talk about it and complain about it and talk about, well, I'm so old and all the aches. And as you guys know, my thing in previous episodes, words are crucial. When you're constantly talking about, oh, I'm so old, I guess like this is just the way life is, and you start associating yourself with, number one, being old, and number two, having a problem, you will be old and have that problem. It's that fucking simple.
Yeah. Yeah, so that, I think my mindset, this is what everybody has to get to, and it you can't get to this point overnight, so you have to start doing just sort of the basic things. And I'm afraid a lot of social media confuses, and the internet, there's a lot of great information out there, but there's so much information that people get overwhelmed, like and they watch influencers talk about every little minor thing that you should be doing. Well, the majority of people should just focus on the very basic things first, and then you can get to this point. But, just eat real food, move your body, take walks. You don't have to kill yourself. But I think a lot of the mistakes that people make is they start out with that negative mindset that, oh, look, they either stay stuck in that sense to say, well, obesity just runs in my family, or
Oh, yeah.
diabetes runs in my family. Well,
Right.
no, your family's been eating the same shit,
Right.
and you sort of adopted that. You live the same lifestyle, but that's a whole nother thing. But if you get out of that mindset and start thinking, oh, no, I'm going to do something because I love my body. I don't have to cut things. I mean, honestly, you will naturally start cutting out the garbage if you start focusing on the positive things that you can do first. Like, that's what I would recommend now is like, look, here, if I were sitting down with someone, I would say, like, here are all the things that I think are really healthy for you and nutritious that are going to actually feed your body good energy, good things. What of these things on this list do you enjoy?
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy the heck out of those things. Like, eat all the eggs you want, eat all the steak you want. If you do that and you put the positive things in, then you're naturally the negative or the bad, the worst things are going to fall away, the processed foods. So it's kind of like when you see the picture of someone has like a dirty water bowl or a glass full of dirty water. The best way to clean it is to just pour the clean water in.
It'll eventually
clean itself. And that's
interesting.
That's what you do, I feel like. And so after a lot of little incremental things that each person should adopt, like just, take 10-minute walk after every meal, or, look at how many steps you're taking a day without hyperfixating on it. Don't
Right.
beat yourself up if I didn't walk 12,000 steps yesterday. But
Right.
as long as you're getting a little bit better every day, then eventually you build an identity around, like, everyone is looking for an identity. And like you were saying, people have adopted this mindset that, oh, well, I identify with my illness.
Mm-hmm.
You shift your mindset to think, I identify as a healthy person that loves myself, that my future self is going to think, that's great, that I'm glad he started doing that when he was 40, because now he can get off the toilet without assistance,
Right.
And, I spent a lot of time.
You can pass the swim test at summer camp.
Exactly. I spent a lot of time with, my grandparents as they were older, and seeing my parents start to decline. I think that's a lot of inspiration too, that, I mean, honestly want to do everything I can to help them live as a good life. Like, who cares if you live to 90 years old if the last 20 years of your life is like taking
Miserable.
10 pharmaceutical drugs and
Yeah.
not feeling good, not being able to travel and enjoy life. Like, people spend all their life working, and then the last
Right.
20 years of their life, they're miserable and they can't go anywhere. So it's, I guess for me, like, going back to the whole idea of doing the opposite, which of course I'm a huge Seinfeld fan, this is George Costanza, I decided one day I'm just going to do the opposite, like, so maybe that's what people need to do, is just do the opposite. And so my thought, I guess where I was going with that is like, I want to flip the script. I want to do, like, is the script
Flip the script.
that, oh, as you get older, you're naturally just going to like start getting slower? And no, I don't think that's necessarily the inevitable path. I think we look at the general population and think, oh, well, if I'm at least better than, the person at Walmart in the wheelchair because, they're 300 pounds, then I'm doing well for myself. No, I want to set the bar higher. And
I'm not even at Walmart.
yeah. And so, yeah, so I guess what I want people to take away is you can find your own path. If you, like going back to what you said about finding your why, you need to determine what your why is for taking care of yourself. And it's not a badge of honor to like not go to the gym because, oh, I'll be away from my kids for an hour a day or whatever. If you look to the future and think, oh, my kids are going to have to be like wiping my ass for 10
Yeah.
years because you're not doing anything noble by
No.
not taking care of yourself.
Self-sacrificing is not a noble instrument to teach your children. If anything, you need to be teaching your children that taking care of themselves first, it should be their priority as it is yours. You put your mask on before you put theirs on. You put your seatbelt on, you put their seatbelt on.
Yeah.
You can't fill up anybody else's cup if yours is empty. I mean, there you are. And the whole purpose of that, in hindsight, which was that trigger moment, that made a life-changing moment for you, was at that time in your life, if there were an incident and there was something in danger where you needed to save your life and your child's, you would be putting both your life and your child's life in danger if you weren't physically fit enough to pass the swim test in that moment. That was the purpose of that type of Boy Scout training, which is beautiful. And what a cool moment to be able to look back and think of how much that changed your life. And like looking at your life today compared to then in that moment where you passed that swim test at the camp. How has your overall physical health, where were you on a scale of 1 to 10 in that moment when you failed that swim test, and where is it today?
Yeah, well, looking back, when I was 40, we have photos when we went to a football game at Tennessee versus Oklahoma, and I look at that picture, yeah, and I was a completely different person, which I think we've talked about this. Is like we're constantly evolving, and we're a different person regardless of what we look like. I mean, all of our cells and everything are turning over all the time, and we're actually a different person every, I don't know, maybe every 90 days. If I don't know if you think about it. But my face was like all inflamed, puffy around under my eyes. I honestly think I looked older then than I do now in a lot of ways. I mean, I have more gray hair now, obviously, but yeah. So I feel better. I mean, I noticed back then I was walking up and down stairs at work, and my knee would like make a little pop clicking noise or something, and I asked, I actually feel like I had a good general practitioner at the time who was into sports medicine. And he said, well, you need to exercise and build muscle or exercise your legs, because it's not that you're just getting old there. It's just that you don't have enough, you're putting too much pressure on those tendons in your knees.
Yeah, you have to have a great like quads and hamstring strength is the best thing to help you with your knees.
Yeah. And when I started working out, like within a couple of years, that was totally gone. So
Yeah.
like,
Your knees are there for bending, not for like stability.
yeah. So
Just strength.
that was completely gone. I mean, I feel like I'm at like, I'm not trying to lose weight. I never really meant or tried consciously to lose weight. I just started doing the things, and I I think that's where a lot of people maybe make a mistake, is that they just think, oh, I've got this perfect ideal body weight that I have to be, and then they look at that. No, if you start just doing the things, living the lifestyle, your weight is going to optimize about where you should be. And weight is so relative anyway. Like, a pound of muscle is a lot different than a pound of fat in the way you look. And you can be women especially have been buying into this whole idea that I've got to be a certain weight, and they lose muscle to get there, and that's not healthy for them.
Right.
Like, you would much rather be 10 pounds heavier and have lots of lean body mass,
Right.
lean muscle mass to like keep your bones strong. That's the goal. It's like the reason why when people get old, they hunch over and stuff is mostly because they've lost muscle mass. And it's because, I guess, getting into the weeds a little bit, is like we actually need more protein the older we get, or amino acids are like the building blocks. The real thing that you're trying to get out of protein are amino acids. And we don't absorb as many of those as we get older because our stomach acid level drops. You know, there's multiple reasons, but you have to mitigate that by increasing your protein intake, or at least supplement with amino acids, which is one thing I do on a regular basis now to help build muscle over 40 or over 50, is to lift a lot of weight, get a lot of protein. Well, if you think about, most people, our parents' generation, if anything, they're eating less protein than they did 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Do the opposite. Like, are people eating biscuits and jelly every day for,
Yeah.
I'm not,
But
for
yeah.
breakfast, or are they eating steak and eggs for breakfast? Like, the
Right.
people that are eating protein for breakfast, getting enough protein in their diet, not eating a lot of processed foods, people that are running, or you don't have to run. Like, I wouldn't say I'm anti-running, but don't think that you need to be, um, don't think that you need to be out like running marathons every day. Just walk like a human.
Right. All right, so that is amazing. I really appreciate all the details of what was going on in your life and why you made those decisions, and just kind of how it all came together, right? Just is really beautiful to see that transformation. And the other thing that's interesting is not just your physical self. If you look back at before you started this physical healing journey, how did you like feel in comparison of like where your life was with your confidence in yourself, with your spirituality, with your overall emotional well-being, with your life circumstances? I would assume, because I've seen for my own self, that a lot of that changed along with my health journey. It was more than just the physical that ended up transforming because of the physical original intention. It affected other parts of my life. So how has your life changed throughout that as well?
Yeah, you definitely have a lot more confidence in life. I think we know that your physical health and your emotional health, your spiritual health, whatever, are so all like interconnected. It's very, like, as much as I can talk about, here's what you should do to like get your physical health in order, go for walks, eat lots of protein, go to the gym and lift heavy weights. Unfortunately, a lot of people are in unhealthy states because of their other parts of their life. They hate their job, they're not happy in their relationship, their spouse or whatever. They've had some traumatic experience in their life, of women that would say that, they were raped at some point in their life. And then after that, they didn't want to be seen as attractive anymore. So it works both ways, is what I'm saying. So because it works, it works that way, it also works the opposite way, that if you can also overcome a lot of those things and get your physical health, well-being. It's going to affect your mental, emotional relationships, work, career as well. Because you hear a lot of people or see people say that you can't buy a healthy body. Basically, it's one of the things you can't buy.
Exactly. And that's the true underlying meaning of self-care. I think people kind of get in, confusion about what self-care is. Is it buying yourself a new sweater or, getting a manicure? It's it is doing something that only you can do for you.
Yeah.
You can't outsource, somebody going to the gym for you and the feeling that your body's going to feel. You can't pay someone to do that.
Yeah,
You
and it's
can't do any breath work, or you can pay somebody to cook the food, but you can't pay for them to digest it and put those nutrients,
right.
into your body.
And the people around you, whether in business or whatever, they inherently know that. They know that if a person is in physically good shape, especially after 40, they put in a lot of work, and they have a lot of consistency in that area of their life, and there's no that's one of the hardest things to be consistent in. So if you can be consistent in that, then that tells it's like a projection to the people that you're working with that, well, that's a consistent person. Like, they're dedicated, they're not lazy.
Oh,
Not
that's a
that,
good point.
not that,
It's a reflection
yeah,
of your commitment to something. Because, in all honesty, like, if you can't commit to yourself, that's this whole thing. It's like
yeah,
everything outside of us is a reflection of what's inside of us. And we are, I am the only one that is inside this shell of a body, and nobody else is going to do it. And the same for every single person out there. So I would highlight to anyone that if you're listening to this message and there's any area of your life that you're working on, regardless of what it is, if it's money, relationship, career, anything, if also your health is on that list, I would say 100% focus on your health first. If you start with your physical health, then those other things are going to be much easier for you to make transformations versus well, I really need to do, this other thing first. If you can focus on that first, it will seriously make those others, because honestly, as you're trying to work on those other pieces and then you're counteracting anything with your body while you're having these strains and trying to go through job transition, relationship transition, whatever it may be, it's just going to make the health that much more difficult. So if you can make that the priority, and also when you start making your physical health your priority, it cleans and opens your brain health for you to be able to be in a different state of mind to help you with those other areas of your life that you may want to improve. Maybe it's your relationship or your job or money or whatever. So your health, if you've got anything else on the list and health is also, start with health.
yeah. Well, if you have brain fog and you're not sleeping well, and yeah, it's going to affect every other aspect of your life. If you're not getting all the right nutrients into your brain, like, your brain's not going to function the same. You're not going to have this same conversations at work with your
Yeah,
spouse or whatever. If you're tired all the time, then you're cranky, and
exactly.
yeah, it definitely has been shown that exercise is really as much or more about your mental health than building your body.
Oh, yeah. For me, it has been, uh, if anything, what it does for my mind has indirectly helped my body at the same time, because there's been many more times that my intention was to help my mind more than my body. And my body just was a secondary benefit. But the beauty of it is if you go into the gym with an intention, it makes it even more impactful, as anything I've seen. When you go into anything with intention, and it's going to the gym, and this is for my mind, and this is for my body, this is for these muscles, and you really are focusing on that, it makes a more impact, because that's how powerful our words are. But anything with intention, your meditation, your plant medicine, anything is incredibly different with the intention. So
Yeah. And
that,
to add to that, I think one area where you flip the switch or flip the script, but I guess more like flipping the switch, is when you get to the point and just, know that you can get to this point. And I think people do. And that's why we're so, people that go to the gym so much, you get to the point that when you miss it, you notice a difference.
yeah,
Okay. So it's kind of like when I was saying, if I have some food I probably know that probably wouldn't be good for my gut, I notice a difference the next day. And so then, because I've spent 2 or 3 weeks at least feeling amazing, and then I have a little bit of something that I probably shouldn't, and then I feel like crap, that gives me, like, I see, okay, it's not worth it. It's just not worth eating that the next time as much. You get to the point where you notice that maybe your mental health was off because you didn't go to the gym. So the where you're flipping the script is like, you're thinking in the morning, oh, it's natural to go to the gym, just like brushing my teeth, because I know if I don't, it's going to have negative consequences, rather than thinking, oh, I have to go for the, I mean, there's both the positive benefit, but then there's also a negative benefit of not doing it, I guess is what I'm trying to
well,
say.
and my goal is to take as much of the negative out, and even you know less focus on how you're going to feel if you don't do it, but actually if we train our minds to think of how good I am going to feel because I do it, and not even think about
Right.
the negative result, even makes it even more powerful. And kind of the flip the switch, my new one that I heard recently is, how people say they have FOMO, on everything. The other side of the fear of missing out, which the same, a result of fear of how I'm going to feel if I miss out on going to the gym, is the joy of missing out. Like, okay, well, if I don't drink at the party, I'm gonna feel weird or whatever. Okay, so you're gonna feel whatever it is if you don't do that. But the joy of missing out is not that I'm not gonna feel bad tomorrow. The joy of missing out is tomorrow, whenever I wake up, I'm gonna feel great.
Yeah.
So it's focusing on the joy of that change that you're making.
Hmm.
Whether it's adding something in or releasing it, it's what is that positive feeling that you're going to feel
Yeah.
with certainty. With certainty. You can go back to that, and that's exactly what it is you can live in a life of uncertainty because you're so certain with certain things like that you've taken the actions that you know that the result is going to be.
Yeah. Well, I think it really important. Maybe I don't want to sound like, oh yeah, everybody needs to go to the gym every day. I think, yeah, I guess what I need to say there is that you need to be so in tune with your body that you kind of know, well, today's not a good day for going to the gym. Like, it's not that's like, you need to obviously take care of your body, let your body recover, rest. So the gym is not like a place that you go to, like, I don't know, you have to have a healthy relationship with everything, obviously. But when I go work out, I'm usually in and out in less than an hour. So I don't like crush myself to be like sore. Like at some point, you shouldn't be sore the next day. Like you should not be like over
Yeah.
over exercising is a major thing, is what I'm trying to say. So like
Right.
it's sort of like your circadian rhythm, and everything will get off if you don't like rest and digest your food, take care and know, just sort of like intuitively what you should be eating, when you should be exercising, so you're not having to think about it too much, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, everything. This is back to the heart, back to listening to yourself, back to loving yourself. And we all have that inner knowing, that intuition, that God within us, that when we can calm our minds and our thoughts and really listen, our body is a perfectly made machine, and everything that was created in this universe was perfectly created to assist us with it. The plants, the animals,
Hmm.
whether we're eating them or smoking them or drinking it, whatever it is, it's here. It was given to us. Our bodies know how to. I'm not thinking about digesting my food right now. I'm not even thinking about breathing. All these things are happening naturally. My body is healthy and whole and heals itself. So when we can know that with certainty and get within ourselves and hold that space and knowing in ourselves, we know that whenever I do this, I'm going to feel good. We know I need to rest right now. We just have to start listening to our body because it's telling us things all the time. Whether it's, oh, my knee hurts.
Yeah.
Well, that's a sensation that your body is telling you. And when you're maybe you've got a tension in your shoulders. All of our emotions get trapped in our bodies. And that's the whole thing. Our body is talking to us and telling us these things every day. So if there's any ailment, physical, feels like it's a physical ailment, there is something your body is telling you. And it is the all knowing if we just get back into ourselves and listen to it.
Yeah, and that's the problem with like the modern like pharmaceutical intervention model for everything, is that, oh, you don't need to take that message that your body is trying to give you, that signal that, oh, you've got this pain here. Let's just make the pain go away or mask it with
Yeah,
something, rather than asking the question like, why is my body telling me this, and then what can I do differently?
right. Well, that's what, people say triggers or, activators when interactions or situations happen and cause us to have an emotional reaction or response, right, to something that caused a feeling inside of us. It's the exact same thing. This, my knee issue or whatever it may be, is a trigger of something. It's not my knee.
Yeah.
It's something else, right? I have this pain in my shoulders and my neck. Well, it's not necessarily that. What is causing that? Is it a vitamin deficiency? Did I turn something wrong? Did I not exercise it enough? Did I not stretch it enough? Is there some emotion that's trapped? So our bodies are constantly communicating with us if we just listen. So that's definitely a great place to start.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thanks for the time
Yeah,
to
this
talk
is
about this kind of
great.
stuff. I could talk about this for hours, and I think
Yeah,
it's important. It's a big part of our existence, because we only get this body once,
right.
here in this life or whatever. So we need to treat it as a temple. I think that's why a lot of religions have really focused on the body as a temple because,
I agree.
your the way you treat it affects the soul that's within it.
And if you really do believe that God is within us, then he's within the temple that is us.
Yeah.
So if you are really protecting of God within you, that's the place where God is.
That was really one of the biggest reasons why the Jewish establishment hated Jesus so much, I think, is because he said, tear down this temple, and I'll rebuild it. Like, they couldn't imagine that the temple was inside him.
Right.
The temple is this building over here that we go and we get all of our authority from.
And our cleanliness.
Exactly.
And our righteousness is inside there.
Yeah.
Something that's, again, what? Separating you from God.
Yeah.
It's, again, a separation that you have to go through this temple to get to God. When, no, like Jesus said, no. That's a whole nother episode.
Sounds good.
That's a teaser episode
Right.
on the next episode of The Siblings.
The siblings chatting with
Cats.
Yeah.
How many cats did you notice in today's episode? The first person to comment on social media at Back to the Heart to Love Me will receive a beautiful prize that is yet to be determined until this episode airs. Thank you. Wow, that was such a fun episode to get to record live in person with my brother. And what an amazing story to hear all about his health journey and how he flipped his script and turned his life around. And you can too. Here are a few takeaways. Number 1, identify your why. Determine your personal reasons for prioritizing your health. Number 2, just start simple. Focus on basic healthy habits like eating real food, moving your body, and taking walks. Number 3, you know me, it's all about the words. Mindset matters. Cultivate a positive mindset and focus on the benefits of healthy choices. Number 4, self-care is essential. Prioritize your health as a form of self-care, recognizing that you can't outsource the benefits of a healthy lifestyle. And finally, listen to your body. Pay attention to your body's signals. Adjust your habits accordingly. And when you start listening to your body and you get back to your heart, you heal your physical self. It helps your mental, and you'll be able to help your heart and your spiritual self too. It's all part of the process. If you're going to start anywhere, starting with your physical health is a great place to start. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Back to the Heart. If you are ready to awaken to a life filled with joy and purpose, subscribe now to Back to the Heart on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And remember, we are all one. So let's do this together and rediscover the essence of what inspires us all. Back to the Heart.